What's up, guys? Lucky Locks here, back with another prediction video. This is going to be for Dana White's Contender Series 2021 Week 2. And last week we had a really good week in Contender Series. We got all of our predictions right, so looking to carry over a bit of that momentum here, and we have another really fun card to look at. So let's get right down to business here. In the first fight of the night, we have Muin Gafurov and Anheliger at 135 pounds. So Gafurov comes in here at 17-3. He's training out of Extreme Couture in Las Vegas. He's going to be the bigger man here. He did move up to 145 pounds in 1FC. He faced Leandro Issa in his first fight at featherweight and scored a round 1 knockout. Absolutely smoked him with an overhand right. Fought John Lineker at 145 and also had a bout at 145 on UAE Warriors. So now he's back at 135 pounds here. Gafurov is a guy that already was supposed to be in the UFC. He was scheduled to fight Movsar Evloev. That fight actually ended up falling through, and if you just compare the two opponents here for a chance to really get established in the UFC, I think that everyone would agree that Anheliger is a significantly easier entry into the UFC comparatively speaking. He also had a scrapped fight with Movlid Haibulaev on PFL. He's had fights in ACB, 1FC, UAE Warriors, obviously, like we said. So he was 3-3 in 1FC. He was 14-0 outside of the promotion, and he was facing really good competition in one. Obviously, a lot of really good fighters fighting in that promotion, and there is just a massive gap in competition between him and Anheliger in this spot. I mean, he went a hard 3 rounds with John Lineker. 2 other losses were also in 1FC, and they all came by decision. He's never been finished before. He has a 94% finish rate with 16 of his 17 wins coming inside the distance, 9 knockouts, 7 submissions. And Anheliger is a KO guy primarily, so I mean, we got a former Sambo world champion here coming up against Anheliger. In the Lineker loss, Gafurov was able to hit a nice double leg to open up round 2. Ended up in a bit of a guillotine schmozzle, but he got outworked top position for about 1.5 minutes. I really doubt that Anheliger is going to be able to provide the same resistance to Gafurov's grappling that John Lineker was able to. Also, I don't think that he will be quite as good on the feet as John Lineker, right? So Anheliger, I do want to give him his due. He's 10-5, but he is on an 8-fight win streak. His last fight was in 2019, wherein he finished Brady Heastan, who we just saw fight Ricky Turcios in the UFC not too long ago. Got off the Ultimate Fighter. And Anheliger has heavy hands. He KOs a lot of guys. He has a 90% finish rate, 9 of his 10 wins coming inside the distance. Every single one of his 5 losses came by submission, though. So I don't want to write him off because he's explosive. He's a good athlete. He has some skills. He hasn't lost since 2014. He's the champion in Rise FC. And, I mean, he's a 34-year-old that's fighting a 26-year-old Extreme Couture fighter in Vegas. And this Extreme Couture product happens to have a ton of experience with 20 pro fights in major promotions and is a world champion in combat sambo. So this is a really dangerous matchup for Anheliger, in my opinion, since he's struggled with grappling in the past. I did put a pretty decent sized bet on Gafurov here. I bet him at -225. And currently, let's just check what he's sitting at right now. Let's see. Contender Series. Okay. So Gafurov, average odds right now are -294. A lot of places have him -300 and below right now. So obviously a lot of people are putting money on him as well. I'm happy with the -225 price tag I got on him. I think there's value there. And my pick is going to be Muin Gafurov in this one. So now we're moving on to the next fight on the card. We have Bruno Correa and Carlos Vergara at flyweight. So Bruno Correa was already in the UFC back in the day. He fought Mateus Nicolau, who we most recently saw fighting Manel Kopp. He actually lost that fight to Nicolau. And, Correa was on the Ultimate Fighter Brazil back in the day. He's been fighting pretty good regional competition in Future FC and Tora. Vergara isn't really fighting anyone that's that good, in my opinion. He does have a nice win streak on Fury FC, but the combined records of his opponents that he's fought on this streak have been 16-13. So he looks good physically. He's athletic. He could pose some problems to Correa a little bit earlier in the fight, I think. I just think that Correa is a better fighter. He's 12-3-1. He's the Tora flyweight champ. He defeated Leandro Ego on the Ultimate Fighter Brazil back in the day. That's a nice win. Actually choked him out in that one in the first round. He's undefeated in his last 6 fights with 5 wins and 1 draw. draw. He admitted himself that he wasn't really ready when he got his first kick at the can to get a UFC, a meaningful UFC contract 6 years ago, and he feels like he's much improved now. He's going to show everybody the improvements that he's made to his game, and I think that the UFC is really looking to fill out that flyweight division right now, and I think that Korea would be a great addition. That's one of the reasons I wasn't surprised to see both Carlos Candelario and Victor Altamirano get a contract last time on Dana White's Contender Series, because they're just looking for guys to beef up that division right now, and both those guys were solid prospects, and I feel like Korea is definitely the A side in this fight. I think he's the guy that the UFC is kind of looking to bring into the fold, but yeah, Carlos Vergara is going to be, I think, a bigger guy physically here. He is on a nice win streak. One of his losses was Jonathan Martinez, so that's not really a horrible loss. The other one was Devin Miller. I mean, it's not terrible, but, not really as good. Vergara is athletic, has some dynamic striking, he has some wrestling and grappling too. He's just going to have to be really careful with that submission game of Korea. So yeah, I'm going to go with Bruno Korea to get this one done. And yeah, let's get right on to the next one now. Saimon Oliveira and Jose Alday is next up on the card at 135 pounds. Oliveira comes in here with an impressive record of 17-3, coming in off an almost 2-year layoff here. He was scheduled to fight 10-0 Javid Basharat. That was going to be a super tough matchup in my opinion. He now draws Jose Alday on short notice. So Oliveira has a 94% finish rate, 16 finishes and 17 wins. He has 11 submissions and 5 knockouts. He has a ton of guillotines. He's extremely dangerous when he attacks the neck, and he's coming in here on a 4-fight win streak. So his only loss in the last 5 years was to Ari Farias. It's like a jiu-jitsu prodigy that was on ACB. Farias was able to hold him down and nullify the sub-game for large portions of that fight. I don't see Alday being able to do that. Oliveira is very tough, very aggressive. I think he can score takedowns and have grappling success here. Jose Alday is 14-5-1. He got the short notice call for this matchup. I think he'll be the slightly bigger guy here. It could be difficult for him to get down to 135 on short notice. This is not going to be taking place at a catch weight. He has spent a lot of time on Combate, has a win over John Castaneda back in the day, also has a split decision win over Gustavo Lopez. They then rematched after, and Alday was defeated there by round 1 knockout. So he started his career off with 8 straight wins, and over his next 12 fights, he's gone 6-5-1, and he's been finished in 80% of his losses. 4 out of 5 losses he was finished. So I'm going to go with Saimon Oliveira here. I bet him at plus 130 as soon as the line dropped. He's now the favorite. And to check what the most recent odds on him are, let's see. So he's around, his average odds are now minus 206. So the best odds you can get him at are minus 190 at the moment. So I'm feeling really good about that plus 130 bet. I thought I would have an underdog play for you guys, but the line shifted really quickly. So by the time I'm getting this video out, it's actually, he's the favorite. So my apologies on that. But yeah, I'm going to pick Saimon Oliveira to get the win in this one. That's going to bring us now to what I presume will be the co-main event of this fight card, and that's going to be Mario Sousa and Chidi and Njokuani at 185 pounds. So to give a non-technical breakdown of this fight, I would pose this question to you, the listener. Who does Dana want here? A 30, I've seen him listed anywhere from 32 to 34-year-old Njokuani, who's bouncing around Bellator, had some fights on RFA, Legacy FC, and then LFA back in the day. Or do they want 26-year-old Mario Sousa, who's 12-1, just got a win on Dana White's Contender Series last year, and seems to be on the up and up, and they have a very shallow middleweight division in the UFC right now, let's be honest. So they're definitely looking for young talent to kind of rejuvenate that division. Sousa did not have the most convincing win ever on Contender Series last year, so this year, Dana's given him a second chance to come out here and show what he can do. Sousa is a very good striker, good acumen there, and Njokuani is good there too in that department. Obviously, they're both good kickboxers, both pretty big guys, both long, and Sousa's going to have the youth advantage. I believe that he will have a pretty healthy grappling advantage if this goes down here, and Chidi does have some great names on his resume. Andrei Koreshkov, John Salter, Rafael Carvalho. He has a win over Alan Jouban and a win over Max Griffin. Those fights were both a pretty long time ago now. The Jouban fight was back in 2011. Griffin fight was in 2015. Sousa is just kind of coming into his own now. I don't think Chidi is better now than he was, back in his heyday a few years ago, and I expect Sousa to have made some some pretty good improvements. You know, he's still young, so Sousa is on a 5-fight win streak. And Njokuani fought once a year over the last 3 years, 2 losses to, you know, pretty high-level competition in Bellator, and 1 win over 15-10 Christian Torres. So not really the greatest, you know, streak that he's on right now. He doesn't seem to be kind of on the upswing in his career, whereas Sousa kind of does seem like he's on an upswing right now. So I do see a lot of love for Njokuani here. Sousa opened up, let's actually just check the line, because Sousa's line came much closer to a pick'em at one point. Like, he opened up at -165, and we were seeing him almost become the underdog on some books. Now his average odds is around -128. So the other day when I was talking about this on the post show with my guy Al Mack on Combat Odds HQ, we were talking about how you could get him at -110 in some places. I thought that was a pretty good bet. I have not put any money on this, but I do feel like there's still decent value on Mario Sousa around -130, where he is available on some books. I see he is at -116 best odds. I feel like that's also a pretty decent play, but personally I do not have any money on this one, but I am going to be going with Mario Sousa to get the job done here. That's going to bring us to the main event of the evening between Josh Quinlan and Logan Urban. And this is going to be at welterweight. So Quinlan comes in here 5-0. He is built very physically strong. He was an undefeated amateur as well as obviously an undefeated pro. He was able to beat Ryder Newman as an amateur. That's a pretty nice win to get at that level. And his last 3 fights were on LFA. He won all 3 of them, 3-0 there. That's better experience than what Urban has. Quinlan fighting on more of the national regional scene, whereas Urban is in a more localized setting up there in Ohio. And yeah, Quinlan throws everything really hard. He does have a 100% finish rate. He was supposed to fight Darian Weeks, who actually opened as the underdog but shifted to the favorite. I thought that was going to be a really tough fight for Quinlan, just because of the extensive and pretty good amateur experience that Weeks was able to accumulate on the IMMAF scene. But this short notice fight with Logan Urban, I really like Quinlan's chances to get the win here. Urban enters this short notice fight with a 5-1 record, also a physically strong guy, also has a 100% finish rate, and looks like a really good prospect out of Ohio. Some of my concerns with him come from the fact that he has only fought 1 opponent with a winning record, and that record was 1-0. He was knocked out and is only lost by an 0-1 fighter. I just think Quinlan is going to be quite a bit more polished in this fight. I think that he can probably weather an early storm from Urban and probably find a finish. So the line with it getting, -300 and worse at this point, I don't really think I'm going to put money down on Quinlan here, but I do like him to get the job done. So that's going to be my pick in the main event. That's going to wrap it up for my Contender Series Week 2 picks, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I appreciate everyone that takes the time to like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Take it easy, guys. Have a good day, and I'll catch you on the next one.